1, 2, 3. Here we go. Hey, what's up, YouTube? It's Richie from Boston. It's the 9th of June, 2017, and this is my first Friday night live stream in a very, very long time. There's so much crap that I need to go over, so I'm not exactly sure where to begin. I got to make sure that I am screen sharing first off to start with. Second off, please smash that like button. What is up, CT10 Carlos in the house, Chris Ingram, Justin Phillips, here to crush hell, F. Landry, what's up? Anti-NWO Canada is a moderator. Jason Kerr, what is up? Tracy Vincent, what's up? Alice Wonderland, Ian MP, Justin Buffalo, you got the wrench. Well, that just went by really quick. Mimi Praise is just in time, of course. Philip Velez, what's up? Iris Villalobos, what is up? Jonathan was wrong. Oh my. Deb Jones, hollering from Michigan, what's up? Dietrich Schmidt says crapola. Indeed. Scott Birch, what's up? Tracy Vincent, I think I already said that. Ian Lamb, veteran USMC. The Marines would not take me because I didn't have a diploma. I ended up in the United States Army Infantry. Got in on waivers, and then they wanted to send me to officer candidate school. So there's them apples. Jesse James, what's up, brother? Jesse James, you know what? You got a wrench. The Huntsman, what's up, brother? Christopher Lee, what is up, my man? 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗍 is new to your channel. Well, effing A. Glad you could join us. Ordered my shirt today. Okay. It's a good intro, Jody Engel. Psyched to hear that. You guys were asking me. I got literally over 500 emails, and I was incredibly reluctant to do it because I did not want to be a self-promoting douchebag. You know what I mean? Like, I'm a product. I'm just a dude with a laptop, and that's all there is to it. But the more I thought about it, this is the first time since I've started this conspiracy, quote-unquote, theory crap, where we actually have stone-cold proof that Harvard University has come out, David Keith, like we've been telling people for years, and they are now spraying Operation Solar Shield 2017. So what I did is I made some shirts. They say right on them, which is a double meaning, double entendre. Look up, you know, look up, Stunad. They're spraying the sky, and it's also look up Solar Shield, and on the back, RFB. But I digress. All right. They're only going to be around for another 4 days. Get yours while you can. There's men's, there's women's, there's long sleeves, and you know, people are like, you should have made tote bags and coffee. Yeah, I don't know how to do that shit. This was hard enough. You know what I'm saying? This works because everyone that orders one of these, I'm sending you a PDF so that when people say, what does that mean? Why do you have a picture of an airplane on your shirt? You can hand them a card and say, well, because they're spraying the atmosphere. It's called geoengineering, solar remediation. You see what I'm saying? They're seeding the clouds. And then you can hand them the website to harvard.com because I couldn't put that on the shirt because I didn't want to get hit with a legal claim. And we've actually got some proof. I couldn't make a shirt say, look up JFK. I couldn't make one that said, look up Sandy Hook, look up 9/11. This, we actually have them admitting it. And we've hit them so hard already that David Keith at Harvard University has already put out a, people are sending me mean messages meme. You see what I'm saying? Poor him, fake news, always the victim. But at any rate, I digress. All right, I am going to have Josh Reeves tonight. He's a filmmaker. He makes documentaries. He is off the hook. This kid does research like no two people I've ever met. I started early. He's always late, or I'm always late. That's just how we do it. I've had him on a couple of other times. He has information that does not, and this is a fact. Josh has been around since time immemorial, and that's just all there is to it. He has information that he cannot put up on YouTube because it will not last. And plus he goes after other really large, really famous, really influential YouTubers that are in the so-called truth community. You see what I'm saying? So he does what he does. It's well worth it. So he'll be here fairly shortly, or he won't. I don't know. But when he jumps in, I'll intro him, and that's that. At any rate, back to the chat. Chaz Seamus 28. 𝗵𝗵𝗿𝗲𝗱, I already said that. 𝗵𝗂𝗲𝗱. Oh my, that's a good name. Jim Jones. Why would they spray in front of the moon specifically? Saza Sounds asked. Well, I don't think they spray in front of the moon specifically. They basically spray in front of the sun. I think you notice that they're spraying in front of the moon because the moon is the lesser of the two lights. But I'm not exactly sure. I've gotten tons and tons of shots of the moon when it's full. They don't really block it out, but they, without a doubt, absolutely, definitely block out the sunset for whatever reason that we have yet to discover, at any rate. Lisa Perkins says, hey, happy Friday, folks. Indeed. Lot says, what's up, Richie? You're killing me with these names. 𝗏𝗏𝗱 Studios. Love you mean wrench me. I don't know what that means. Love you mean. I think it was a typo. At any rate, Jamie Elliott, what is up? Oath of God, Lisa says, hi, Josh. I don't know who Josh is, but she's hitting you up, kid. What's up, Richie? Glad to be here. My name is V3SAGO. V3SAGO. Am I reading that? What does that say? Whatever. I'm an idiot. Who cares? So there's that. All right, I'm going to stop. Yeah, at any rate, what was I saying? We're going to go over stuff like this: Scientology, Aleister Crowley, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. Where is he? I just had a picture. Yeah. And you don't need to see my eBay shopping card. Let me see if I got Josh real quick. Do I? Yep. Oh, he said I didn't send you the link. Unbelievable. All right. You guys are going to have to hold for a moment while I figure out how to do this, because apparently I didn't send them the link. They make it more and more difficult to bring people onto the live stream. How do I do this? I literally just sent him the link, but he's saying he didn't get it. So let me see if I can find him. So stand by, chat amongst yourselves, peoples, while I look up his, yeah, I mean, this is, Josh is here. He needs the link. Let me do this. Let me do this. We should be in business in a second. Sent. All right, Josh ought to be here any minute. Look at the lighting in my studio. It's phenomenal, isn't it? Look at that. You can barely see me. The sun is going down behind me in Boston. It is actually a regularly nice day. Little bit of chemtrailing, but not all that bad for whatever reason. They're taking it easy, or it's too windy. One of the three. I'm not sure. Here we go. Screen share is up. Got a lot of people watching already. That's pretty badass. And I am back in the chat. Somebody is saying Toyota FZJ80 forever. I totally agree. Look up patent. Oh, 𝗏𝗏𝗱𝗮, whatever it is. Wait till you see the video that I put together earlier today about the patents. I found some crazy stuff. Remember I was telling you about the sigils and the televisions and the demons and the Gwen Towers and blah, blah, blah. OMG. The video I put up, if it doesn't go viral, I'm going to be pissed, but I'm sure it won't, because I'm never allowed to crack 250,000 views, ever. So there's that. Don't worry about the patents. I've covered it more than, I actually have an inside guy. Imagine that. It's pretty creepy. So it's either this video is going to be the bomb or they're going to kill me with my own laptop. But I'm good with that. Either way, it's been a good life. I would like to fix the power steering on my truck, but I haven't yet. Yeah. Cool. I can't read your name. 𝗏𝗏𝗱𝗏 Studios. Nice. Candace. It's not up yet, Candace. It's going to be up after this. So, and I just sent Josh the link. He should be here any momento. So that's a good thing. And again, you guys want t-shirts? There they are. These are the best thing. I mean, I can't think of anything better than that. It's a double entendre. It's incredibly clever, and it gives you, people actually have to look at it and figure out what's going on, because at least now we could actually wake people up, and it's not a theory. We have proof. When does that ever happen? It really makes me sad that so few channels are talking about Operation Solar Shield. It's not worth, nobody likes it because you don't get any views. You know what I mean? It's not a second, like somebody killed something, something happened, pedophiles, blah, 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 all that stuff that you can talk about, but you can't prove. This one, you can prove it. And there's that. So at any rate, yeah, I didn't know how to make them in different colors. Someone just said, Rosanna said, I love the shirts. I didn't know how to make them. And I was like, you know, it was, I don't know how to do that kind of crap. I did what I could. So whatever. At any rate, let me kill this real quick and make sure Josh got the link. So stand by. Stand by. This happens every single time. I sent you the link, Josh, if you're watching. He said, I am here and I am ready when you are. So he's got the link. Hopefully he's got audio and we will be good to go. Josh is a smart fellow. And not many people follow him on YouTube, but not as many as it should be, but it's absolutely phenomenal. And he pisses off a lot of people, which is why I have him back as often as possible. I haven't had him back on since I was able to live stream again because I got knocked down for, I don't know, 6 months. 5 or 6 months. Yeah, 6 months. So that sucked. At any rate. What's up, Billy Bob? Adam Eves, DWW2592. What could possibly go wrong? The t-shirts are out. There is no helping them. It's on. That's it. I'm doing it once and that's it. You know what I mean? I thought it was incredibly clever. So come on, Joshua. Should pop in any momento. So that'll be good. We shall see. All right, I'm not. Give me a sec because I am looking in other directions. I'm not too. Von Hoop said, "How many more days are the shirts available?" I think it's like 5 more days. Should be something like that. Something to that effect. So, come on, kid. To come soon, buying more if I can. Nice, nice, nice. Yeah, I made women's and I made men's because I'm just nice like that. I really hope I don't have to do this by myself. I can do it, but oh, I can't click the screen share button. Yeah, we're already getting a hard time here. So they don't like when Josh comes on. That's a fact. I know that for a fact. I know that from past experiences because we always have issues of some sort. So let's see if this happens again. Okay. I've sent the link numerous times. Global reality. Yeah, there we go. All right, I'm going to try this one more time, and I'm just going to go it alone if need be. Stand by, stand by, stand by. It's not easy doing this because they make it really difficult. People can think what they want, but it's a fact. They definitely make it really, really difficult. So well, I sent it for the last time. I don't know what to tell you. I've sent it to his email numerous times. All right, where's the chat? All right, you guys got questions? I'm just sitting here idle right now because now I'm very distracted because I can't believe this. Turn the light on so we can. The light's on. It's on. It's all good. You rock too, Renee. Yeah. Thank you. Scott Birch, Davin Cherry, Dietrich Schmitz. Send me. I can't even send him a link. So no, No. Do I have any hope in Trump? No, man. No, 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 no. The political machine for us right now, there's no sending petitions. There's no sending emails. There's no talking to your legislators. It's all political theater right now. Their New World Order push is on, and they're not stopping. All right. Trump is just another rich guy I mean, we got a billionaire reality show guy for president. You seriously think that's going to end well? You know what I'm saying? And I can't believe the amount of channels that fell for this stuff. Or decided to push it. I don't know. You know what I mean? I didn't believe it for a single solitary instant, and turns out I was right. Trump is an elitist. You don't get, I mean, think about it. Have you ever tried to make $1 million in this lifetime, let alone $1 billion? This dude's done it a couple of times. You don't get that. You don't make that kind of money without stepping on a few people or a few thousand people's lives and destroying them. I don't roll like that. You know, it just, I don't know. I do not know. My tablet already has, well, yeah, that happens. That happens. If I had the camera on where you could see me, you'd get resets over and over because it can't keep up with the bandwidth. So, yeah, no politics. It's a waste. It's an absolute waste. Anti-NWO candidate just turned into a girl. Well, that's weird. Stay awake and subscribe, or don't. Indeed. Yeah, I got Jim Jones said, are you going to do a part 2 on Hollywood Jews? I am. I got a legal action notice from YouTube, like the one I got last time when I did something about Israel. They do not like that whatsoever. I never even saw anything like that. But yeah, they made me take those ones down. So, but I digress. Trump is the same boss as Obama. Exactly. Remember how bad George Bush was? And everybody was so upset about it. And then all of a sudden, Obama came in and he's going to change everything. As drastically different as Obama was from Bush, Trump is from Obama. That's what they do to us every time. Left wing, right wing, left wing, right wing. But it's all the same burden. It doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any difference. They've raped the country. They've flooded the country with people that don't necessarily understand our culture whatsoever. And they've also made it, you know, politically incorrect and almost criminal to even be an American or express your ideals. You see what I'm saying? It's all by design. It's written down a very long time ago, and they're just doing it now. That's all. That's Jet Propulsion's labs. They have really good special effects. Looks almost better than NASA's. Those guys have awesome special effects, because that's all it is. At any rate. Yeah, so I can't get Josh in here. That's awesome. That's happens every single time. You can't just click the button and invite him like usual. Oh, you know what? I can do it like this. I can do it. Oh, great, great, great. There we go. Okay, awesome. Oh my God, this is all going to hell in a handbasket here. Yep, yeah, get out of my face before I lose my mind. All right, that's the last time, and then we are going solo. There they are, 4 more days. Best t-shirt I've ever seen. And I had to buy one, so that kind of sucked, but is what it is. At any rate, what's up with Icarus? Well, it's really funny that last week, I think it was 9 days ago, NASA decides to come out with this nonsensical bullshit story that, hey, we're flying, can't go back to the moon. We don't have the technology. It's too upsetting to try to reinvigorate it, to redo it, blah, blah, blah. You know, and they did that very small, but they definitely did it, because Don Pettit is without a doubt a spokesperson for NASA. He was an astronaut, according to them. But now all of a sudden they're going to send a probe, what is it, 83 or 89 million miles away, right up to the sun, and everything's going to be fine. It's just absolutely ridiculous. But when I saw that story, the first thing that popped into my head was Icarus, the mythology. Flew too close to the sun, the wax melted, his wings came off, so forth and so on. And then oddly enough, I wake up this morning, I put on YouTube, and there's CERN saying, hey, take a 10-second walk with us real quick, in a 10-second video inside their machine called Icarus. So something about the sun. Chris Cornell just disappeared. Black hole sun is being put out by every single person with the microphone. You see what I mean? It's all tying together. I'm not exactly sure what the exact specifics are, but it's coming together. So who knows? I am not exactly sure. All right, stop. There you go. The sun's going down right behind me, So the sun's at my back. That's why I can't see my face. I look anonymous. Look at that. That's very sneaky, very suspicious. Yes, space weather. The sun is a superconductor. Well, maybe. Not really sure. Are they taking film of, I don't know. Well, this is really, really annoying that I can't get Josh in here like I'm supposed to. And I can't sign into my own Gmail, which makes perfect sense. Yes, of course not. Of course not. Stand by, people. I'm getting him in there, but kills me. Google's making me sign in, even though I'm currently on their platform right now, because, you know, I'm not being screwed with right now. They're making me sign in, even though I'm live right now, but I have to sign in. So that's totally normal. There we go. Okay, I just sent him the link. There's no way he's not coming in right now. So stand by, peoples. He will be here. Let me spark up the screen share. And in the meantime, back to comments. Just got done working. And you got the wrench. See that? I keep you working. He's in the... No, I'm not calling him or no, I'm not putting the link in the chat. It doesn't work like that. If I could copy and paste the link, he'd be here. Check your email, Josh. I just sent it to you again after they made me sign in, even though I'm live. So any second now, any second. What do the Church of Scientology, Aleister Crowley, Jack Parsons and Jet Propulsion Labs, and Alex Jones and InfoWars all have in common? Well, if Josh gets that link, he'll explain it for you. Much better than I would suspect. Can you hear me vaping? Indeed, Satanism, everything, every corporation, everybody, every big person like that is tied in with Satanism, or they're not allowed to prosper. It's just how they are. It's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? But at any rate, I got 5 different windows going here. Slow chat, please. Yeah, it doesn't work. Just tap on it. It slows right down. I stay vaping. I vape constantly. So I really ought to learn how to make juice, but I'm not that motivated. Sex magic? Indeed, Aaron. Good call, brother. Good call. That's not really necessarily nice about the goats. Nice.
Richie, I'm here with you, man.
Josh, they just gave me so much trouble, exactly like last time, because they don't like you on YouTube.
Yeah, well, that's okay.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, this is Josh Reeves, finally, from the Global Reality. Josh, sorry it took that much, it was that much trouble getting you on, but I did everything exactly as I did with my last guest. It worked fine with you, not so much. So I'm glad you stuck in. So.
Oh, absolutely. It's good to be here, Richie. Thank you so much. Yeah, it was a weird thing with the link. I kept checking and checking, no links, and then it showed up. So we got it working. We're here now, ready to go. So thank you so much.
Beautiful. Okay, so I've already had a chance to, you put out Spellcasters, and I mean, last time I had you on, it was before Christmas. So you put out Spellcasters last year in 2016, and I just watched I think it's Spellcasters 1.5 yesterday and this morning. I watched it. Phenomenal. I don't know where you keep pulling up all this footage, man. You must have a guy inside or something like that, but it was amazing. You want to break it down a little bit?
Well, sure. If people haven't seen Volume 1, then I definitely want to encourage them to see the Volume 1 before they see 1.5, because a lot of the stuff that's in, the reason why it was necessary to make it 1.5, and some people have done that before, but I've never done it really for a film. Most of the time, when somebody does something like that, it's usually, you know, cutting room floor stuff or extra stuff. I want to be clear and stress that to people that 1.5 is not cutting room floor stuff. This is all information that has since come out since the release of Volume 1 towards the end of last year. So all the stuff that's in 1.5 is up-to-date stuff, up-to-the-minute stuff that really explains a lot of things and a lot of the lingering questions, and questions even I had after the completion of Volume 1, specifically things to do with a lot of these individuals who, for all intents and purposes, appear to be members of Scientology, but yet they aren't. And that we've actually finally found an explanation for that. And that's one of the things that people will see in Spellcasters 1.5. Now, Volume 2 I'm working on right now. We're hoping to have that out by the end of July or August. And the reason why it was necessary to do this 1.5 and not put the information in Volume 2 is because, well, Volume 1 is already, it's over 3 hours, about 3 hours anyway by itself. And if I would have added the additional 76 minutes from 1.5 into Volume 1, we would have been almost a 5-hour movie. So Volume 2 is also going to be about 2 movies in one. It's going to be about 4 hours. So there just wasn't room to get this additional information that is really breaking and really just now coming out, that ties a lot of the stuff in together in Volume 1. You know, we discussed 𝗲𝗂𝗍, Scientology. We discussed the black magic nature of Scientology and how it relates to the 𝗲𝗂𝗍 mind control program. And even earlier than that, with the Nazi mind control programs that they were working on using black magic and LSD, that we then brought over to the United States after Project Paperclip and started setting up the what would later become the 𝗲𝗂𝗍 program. And in 1.5, and no, I don't have a team of people that works with me that digs up this stuff. It's just me. I'm a one-man show. I do all of it, from every aspect of my production to the films to the editing, research, all of it, the writing. And that's what takes the longest on all these films is the writing, is getting all of the research and being able to put it in a way that's digestible. And with 1.5 and also with Volume 2 and also in Volume 1, but more so with 1.5 and Volume 2, we actually have some bits of info in these things that has before not ever come out. I mean, literally the information that I'm bringing forward with this stuff, Richie, is, I'm glad you've recognized from watching them yourself, is stuff that's never been put out there before. That's the one thing that I think I have, going for me with these films that nobody else has. This is literally stuff that nobody else is really putting out there.
Well, I can completely, this isn't your, I mean, I think you guys listening know, this isn't like your usual talk show where everybody has a like Josh sends me a free thing, I watch it. This is legit. The stuff that you see in the movies and the documentaries that he makes, I call them movies all the time because you do a really, really good job. You don't see this stuff on YouTube. I never saw half the stuff that you talked about. I always had an idea who was tied with who and who was really the giant sellouts and stuff like that. You show the proof that never surfaces on YouTube, and there's a reason for it, because they won't let you play it because you're ruining their big game, and they're all tied in together.
It's interesting. It's interesting because the last time I was on with you, Richie, you brought that up and we talked about that a little bit. But it's funny that since then, since the last time I was on with you, I've actually experienced more of that. I heard people talking about it for a long time and never really experienced it myself. But since the last time I was on with you, I've experienced that more and more where, you know, if I go to like people have always asked me, well, you never label your videos. You just put from your show, you just put the date on there. So, and the reason that is because when I started to go and put labels on information, you know, whatever it may be, if I would put something that says, you know, so-and-so exposed, or this truther, or this person, whoever exposed, automatically those videos sometimes would get flagged for no reason, and wouldn't, you know, I don't know what it is. I really can't explain it. I mean, there's other things I've experienced where I put a title of something in there, like okay, for instance, I've had all these other videos and they all got posted and they all got monetized, no problem. I made a video called the suspicious death of Chris Cornell, and as soon as I put up a video about the suspicious death of Chris Cornell, all of a sudden, no, sorry, red flag, we can't monetize this. This is not content that we will allow to be monetized. And it's all only specifically because I put a label on there saying what it was. So right. You're absolutely right. That's it's very difficult in this age, Richie, to get yourself across to people who put everybody in the same category. You know, I've been doing this for 10 years. September will be my 10-year anniversary of being on the air and making films. I'm going to be coming out with a massive 10-year anniversary box set. That's something I've always done, nice. Even from the beginning of all my film. I mean, my very first film that I put out in 2007 was called 9/11 New World Rising, and it was a 9/11 film, but that was the whole impetus for that film. Then at the time, of course, now there's stuff, all the stuff in there has been put in a million films, but at the time there was stuff in my film and that film that had not been put in anything else. And that's something I did through my Lost Secrets of Ancient America films, the Secret Right films, which talk about the Council for National Policy and these other groups, and now with the Spellcaster. So yeah, I'm really glad, and you're right. I hope people understand what you were saying a minute ago about this is not like a normal talk show thing and then promoting. No, Richie, what people need to understand is that Richie is actually somebody who is interested in finding the truth, regardless of whether or not he and I agree on every issue or this, that, and the other. Richie found my work and has promoted my work strictly as somebody who has wanted it. He's paid for the downloads. He's bought his downloads from me. He hasn't asked for them for free. I mean, I just want people to know that, because it's not the same type of situation here, like a Coast to Coast AM where Richie's just bringing me on to shill a product or something. He's bringing me on because he legitimately wants the truth just like I do. I think it's important people know that.
That's a fact. That's absolutely a fact. And I started the show up figuring I had 5 minutes. 5 minutes until you came in. Dude, it took 20 minutes to get you the link, and I sent it to every single solitary one of your emails. So there's a reason. I just had somebody on the other day, and it was no problem. First time, boom. I was joking around before you even came on, saying, yeah, I bet, you know, this is going to get shut down or something wacky like that will happen. And it did. And the other thing, since the last time we spoke live, fake news.
Yeah.
Didn't exist. They were just stirring the pot, and it's in full effect now. So I can't even imagine how much more difficult your life would even be, because you're literally, legitimately, and I'd have to say unabashedly, putting these people right out there.
Well, it's an important thing to do, and not only that, but all these connections. That's the interesting thing. I talk about that and mention that in Spellcasters 1.5 is that you know they've been happy to talk about you know, Russian hacking and this, that, and the other and stuff like that. But you know, these Russian connections were there, and especially relating to people in the truther community and the rest of it with Russia Today and all these KGB on news outlets. All these connections back to Russia have been there, and I've been monitoring them, finding those long before Trump was ever elected, long before the liberal media was coming and trying to use it for their own devices. That's the problem we're in, is that now information is being taken, and instead of being taken as for what it is, and it's being taken and used for a left and right divide and conquer political device. So it becomes increasingly difficult for people to be able to find any kind of truth in this stuff. So that's why I've always never ever put myself to any sort of political paradigm. I never have. I never will. Even since I was young, I've never done that, because that's not where, to me, that's not where the truth lies. The truth lies in that place where you can't be affected by the people who want to pull you onto their side, no matter what side it is. And I think that's the most important thing. And it's interesting how much of the stuff that we covered in the Spellcasters Volume 1 has now brought itself out to fruition, and we've actually seen the results of all of this stuff, and it's just fascinating to watch it all play out, you know. But I think that the biggest thing for me is that I think people need to understand just how far back the control of the so-called truth movement, conspiracy movement, how long this has been going on, and how many of these so-called figureheads and people that have been allowed to rise to the top have actually been controlled by the Scientology and CIA controlled organizations. And that's really what I've tried to do in this film, is show people this and give people the opportunity to be able to have access to information that is not being put out there and not giving a light of day, because it's not being given the light of day because the very people that are trying to suppress this stuff are the very people that I'm exposing. And it's much bigger even than I ever dreamed, Richie. I mean, the tentacles to this thing run so deep. And as you mentioned, it's very easy with all of this stuff now for people to get caught up and wrapped up and not know even what is true and what isn't. And so I get that totally.
Well, since the last time we spoke, the amount of, I'm talking big channels, 250, 300 plus thousand subscribers that suddenly, all of a sudden, started pushing Donald Trump as though voting was somehow now for real, like it was legit. Right. Like one guy with a few $1 billion walked in and everyone went, oh my, this guy's a billionaire and a reality show actor, so we can't stop him. They really thought that Trump was nothing more than the Trump card, nothing more than a puppet for the Vatican, nothing more than, he was exactly, we had George Bush, Obama came in, he was the polar opposite. Well, Trump is the polar opposite. They just keep flipping it over and over, left wing, right wing, and we're still flying here. It's the same bird. People don't seem to catch on to that, but I mean, a lot of channels got behind that, and they're still talking today. No one seems to, I mean, even the truth community, it saddens me, but they're not holding their channels to task. You know what I'm saying? Donald Trump has already exposed himself for exactly what he is. He's a puppet. He has to be. There's no two ways about it. They own the entire government. They own all governments for the most part.
Oh, I think it also has to do with the fact, Richie, that I think a lot of people are just flat ignorant of the fact that that big, to a certain extent, especially at the highest levels, big business and big government are exactly the same. If you're somebody like Trump who's worked in big business for many years, making the transition over to big government, you're dealing with the same people. He's already been dealing with the biggest of the big, most wealthiest people forever. I mean, somebody that I've exposed for many years connected to all this, somebody who just died actually this week, 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏. He's somebody that I have exposed for many years in connection to this. He started all of these CIA front companies with the name Genesis in them, like Genesis Intermedia, Genesis Communications Radio Network. He started all of these front groups. And what I'm doing with Volume 2 of the Spellcasters is Volume 1 was more about Hollywood. Volume 2 is going to be focusing in on the music industry and on suspicious deaths of famous musicians, many of them. We're going to be naming some big-time suspects, people that are famous as murder suspects in this film that have never been named, information that's never come out before. And some of that also relates to Khashoggi rather, and he had a ship, this massive ship, and the band Queen wrote a song about it called Khashoggi Ship, and it came out. I think this has come out since I was on with you last time. We were trying to figure out where that ship went afterwards, because Khashoggi had. If you don't know who about 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏𝗃 is, people need to look this guy up, because he's been involved with every major world event over the past 50 or 60 years. Iran, Contra, 9/11, you name it. And lo and behold, who purchased Khashoggi's ship? Who bought it from him? Donald Trump. There's an old clip that came from the David Letterman show from the 1990s where he admits that he bought that massive ship from Khashoggi himself. So he's been in business with these big guys. I mean, are we supposed to believe now that Trump being business partners with Khashoggi and also the connections to Alex Jones and the Truth Movement, GCN, and all this stuff with Khashoggi and Scientology and all these CIA operations, and also Iran-Contra? I mean, the CMP that I've exposed with the Council for National Policy, you got people like Larry Pratt, Gun Owners of America, who was involved with the Iran-Contra thing, called for Iran-Contra-style militias here in the United States to deal with insurgent populations. I mean, these guys have been running these operations largely unexposed for many, many years. But what I started realizing about a year before Trump was in office, that when I started seeing him having the backing of this Council for National Policy, it became pretty clear to me what was going to happen. And you're right, exactly soon after that, almost like a script, everybody within the truther community went lockstep behind him. And this, again, goes back. The reason why all these people went lockstep behind Trump, like you said, almost like it was on a script, is because, as I've been exposing since 2009 with my first film, The Secret Right, on this Council for National Policy, these people have been behind the scenes. They are the direct tentacle to the CIA that controls the mainstream truth community. That's a fact. And so I hope that people really do, Richie, don't just take my word for it or your word for it. I hope they really do. That's why I make these films, and the information contained in the films is very different from what I present on my radio show. These are very long, intensive, researched out projects with everything put there and arranged in a way so that you can understand this information and then pass it on to somebody else. That's the biggest thing here. What worries me so much is that the biggest hurdles and obstacles that I've had to overcome in the past 10 years since I've been doing my show and making these films has not been the so-called, elite or New World Order or powers that be. It's actually been the biggest obstacle has been these individuals that are supposedly supposed to be on our team and on our side within truth, that are actually have been the biggest obstacle because they have been the biggest purveyors of non-truth that have stood in the way of people like you and I that are trying to get real, honest Americans to understand this and not get taken for a ride. That's the biggest thing. We've been taken for enough rides. We don't need to take another one. Exactly.
People, I mean, the predictive programming, the dumbing down, fluoridation, GMO, so forth, so on, and blah, 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 has even seeped into the truth community. There's a lot of people, and I mean, everybody's guilty of it. When you first start waking up, whatever it is, if it's a UFO that you found out it's actually an Air Force thing, chemtrails, whatever it may be, whatever sparked your need to go online and try to find out what the quote unquote truth is, people always, and I mean, that's his job. People always find their way right to InfoWars. And he'll give out 80%, but it's the 20% disinfo, which undoes everything. And the people that follow him, if you try to tell them, they turn and attack you, just like the sheep will when you try to explain that the skies aren't supposed to necessarily be white every day. You know what I mean? They defend the people that are holding them down. They defend the truthers that aren't necessarily truthers at all. The genesis of InfoWars and Prison Planet, I found out by watching your videos. I never saw that anywhere else, and that's by design. They scrubbed it off the internet. It was in Spellcasters, and I was amazed, but I was also psyched to actually have not only an allegation, but proof behind it, and you provided it. And I can see why YouTube won't let it go. You know what I mean? They're not going to let you put that up there. They're going to pull it right down. So it is what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. And you made a good point there with the whole thing with the chemtrail thing, because that's a great point. What happens is that one of these individuals, whether it be Alex Jones, whether it be anybody else, but you have people who will take one explanation for things. Let's say the chemtrail thing, as you mentioned, they'll take one explanation for it, like weather modification. Which, as we know, is one element of the chemtrail thing, but it's not the only element. It's not the only thing they're doing with it. But what you have is you have people who will take the weather modification thing, and they will platform on it. And they will platform on it, and they'll get followers behind them. And then when you come in and say, well, yes, what you're saying there is actually true, you're agreeing with them, then you say, but it's also this. You also have stuff like the X-band radar system. You have the ability for them to be able to track every living human being on Earth from space, because we're all breathing in radioactive isotopes and barium within our lungs that makes us glow like a beacon from space. You've got all these other elements from the solar flare mitigation to everything from the mind control stuff they can do with HAARP. So no matter what issue it is, there's more than one explanation, and it's important that I think that we don't get stuck, because that's what happens. People get stuck on one thing. I saw this happen so much in the 9/11 truth movement, and it's why I got away from it about 10 years ago, because people get locked into one theory or one way of thinking about something, and they cannot see their way out of it. And part of that is by design, by these different truther people like Alex Jones and others. A lot of them are put there in order to get you to think one way about something, so that, again, when contrary information comes in, you reject it, just like, as you said, Richie, a minute ago, the sheep would do when you try to present them with this information. This is a whole other level. That's why these people are so dangerous, and why I put so much money and effort and work into these spellcasters films to try and expose this stuff in our time, because people don't understand just how deep this manipulation has gone. They wake up from consensus reality, which they finally figure out is a lie. They find this so-called truth movement, and they find other people they think are enlightened and are after the truth like them, and they become, enamored with it. They become attached to it, and they don't want to, even for a second, believe, because it's enough. It's hard enough sometimes, Richie, to admit to yourself that you got taken for a ride. People don't want to admit. Everybody likes to think they're smarter than they are, or smarter than to get fooled. Look, these people are slick. This manipulation has been going on for a long time. You are not stupid. You are not ignorant. Nobody is any less intelligent just because you got fooled by these bastards. The important thing is realizing that you got fooled by them and not allowing it to happen again. And that's what we have here with this second tier level. People come down, they think they're enlightened and awake, and they have no idea that there's a whole other set of traps that's even worse than the original mainstream consensus reality traps they escape from, because it's posing as the truth. And people have this, again, the cognitive dissonance, where they don't want to have to accept that, oh God, I bought one lie, got free from that, and thought I was in another paradigm that was all about truth. But turns out most of this has been a lie too, and most of this has been controlled by the same people. And as you mentioned, it's all about trying to bring people who have disassociated themselves from that, whatever you want to call it, the beast system, the mainstream system, the people who have disassociated themselves. And as you said earlier, know that voting is, no matter who you vote for, left, right, or center, all it is a verification that their phony system is okay with you, just not the candidates they've put in there for. That is not going to work. Non-participation in their phony system is the only thing that's going to keep it from coming down, or keep it to, allow it to come down. But the main thing is people have to understand and be willing to accept that there is a whole other level within the so-called conspiracy research truth genre that has traps laid waiting for them once they wake up from that consensus reality. And again, what I'm trying to do is it's like unplugging people from the second matrix. It's like you unplugged from one, and then you woke up and you're like, oh God, I can see the matrix now. Okay, I'm awake. Not knowing that, wait a minute, no, you're plugged into another one you didn't know you were plugged into. That's really the key thing. And I think once people realize that and come to accept that, they're going to start, being able to understand this information a little bit better.
That makes perfect sense, man. That's a good analogy too, because a lot of people consider themselves awake, and they're just getting caught up. The truth community has been infiltrated in the last 5, 6, 7 years, I'd have to say, with drama. People that just have nothing to say, nothing to contribute, but what they do is they get involved with everybody and start bickering, arguing, and distracting people from what's really what the whole true purpose was. But again, it sounds like we broke up a long time ago. Since the last time we spoke, Josh, Alex Jones has completely been outed by his own lawyer and had to admit that he's just a character actor. I mean, you must have felt some small amount of gratification from that.
Well, I thought it was an interesting thing to watch. I covered it extensively on my show. It was an interesting thing to watch. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, even his own ex-wife, who was going through all the legal stuff with. There's a clip in I think in my film, The Secret Volume 2. There's a clip where I put that film out in 2011. So I mean, it tells you how long I've been around to this stuff. There's a clip I have of his own wife in there saying, "Well, Alex is just a really good actor." They're in a hotel room hanging out right before he supposedly goes into and infiltrates the Bohemian Grove. And there's his wife, his now ex-wife, saying, yeah, well, Alex is a good actor. Everything he does is acting. So, I mean, we've known that. His own wife admitted that many, many years ago. That clip, I think, is from like 2002. So, again, this has not been something that's really been a secret. But what you're talking about is the perception of it. Now, again, the information that he's an actor, I mean, I heard him admit on his show many years ago, he's got a Screen Actors Guild card.
Yep.
You don't get a Screen Actors Guild card unless you're an actor. So what you're talking about, Richie, is very important. What you're talking about is truth and known truth, stuff that a lot of people have known for many years, versus the perception of the reality of what it is. And I think that's the biggest thing is what that trial did is it changed the perception and made certain things that many people have known and talked about for many years become actually a reality to more people than they were before. And I think that's a very interesting. And the fact that all the pictures of him, going everywhere because I've exposed, Blackwater and their connections to the CIA and the Council for National Policy. In fact, the Prince family, Eric Prince, his parents, Eric Prince, who started Blackwater, his parents were on the board of governors and were some of the very first people that instituted the Council for National Policy. And so it's interesting that Alex has a former Blackwater security guy that goes everywhere with him, and there's pictures of him he was in the courtroom with and stuff like that. So, again, a lot of this stuff, people are going to catch up to this stuff eventually. I really feel that way about my films. I feel now with the Secret Riot films I made in 2009 and 2011, I feel now that those are really starting to reach people. I mean, I started to see a spike in sales on those two films when I hadn't seen those films sell in a few years. Right when Trump got elected, all of a sudden the interest went through the roof in those films, and now people are starting to figure out and watch the stuff I'm putting in the Spellcasters. And yeah, some of this stuff, it does take a while for people to catch up to it. It's something that frustrated me early on because I wanted everybody to get the information immediately. But some of this stuff, people come back to it, and it takes them a while. They have to see more proof. But the stuff that we've talked about and shown within Spellcasters 1, and the stuff that's been proven correct just since that movie came out last year, has been unbelievable to me, and a total side effect that even I didn't expect to happen.
What would you have to say? What do you think they're going to do next as far as the fake news? They came out guns blazing out of nowhere with this nonsensical meme that YouTube somehow got the president selected, and they came at everybody, and it looked like it was the absolute end of times. What do you think? I mean, in your opinion, you don't have to predict anything. In your opinion, what's the next wave going to be? What do you think they're going to try to pull out of a hat next?
Is in terms of what, Richie? In terms of like against
in terms of just completely shutting down independent channels like myself, like yourself, and others.
Oh well, I think they're moving. They've made great strides towards that. I think that
without a doubt. But it looked like we were going straight down, and then all of a sudden there was a lull. You know what I mean? Because enough people got the word out, and it seemed like CNN, Fox News, all these guys just kept getting caught with their pants down over and over again, and it hurt their cause. And enough people saw that. Because people aren't really watching mainstream anymore. There's more people looking at guys like you, me, and sadly, but better than mainstream, Alex Jones. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But I think they do this. See, I've noticed these patterns. They do this every time, as you were mentioning earlier, about them just flipping the switch and flipping us, back and forth with left, right, from Obama to this person. I started noticing it last. I started my show. Okay, when I started my radio show back in 2007. This was, about a year. It was a little more than a year than before the elections when Obama got elected. And what I started noticing in that year, I was able to predict. I knew Obama was going to be president because you started to see. The first one I noticed was Keith Olbermann. Keith Olbermann had like the biggest show on MSNBC, and all of a sudden, Keith Olbermann, about 6 months before the election, says, "I'm retiring." So he retires, and I started noticing that. I said, "Oh well, look, you started to see a shift. The left-wing media started going into retirement. Those shows started getting shut down, and all of a sudden, you started to see the rise of the right-wing shows because they knew a year before it was going to happen that they were going to have a left-wing government in charge, and so this was going to mean that all the media ratings and all the attention was going to be going to Fox News and these others. Now, ever since you had the shift over to Trump, what have you started to see then? You started to see the decline of the right-wing news outlets, the decline of Fox News. They are shifting the agendas over because they know that the focus and the attention is moving to right-wing, so people are going to be going to predominantly left-wing media. This is the same thing they do over and over again. Another thing we have to understand is that much of this stuff is directed at us to gain our response. There's so much fear mongering. There's so many threats. I've heard so much. For the past 10 years, Richie, since I've been doing my show, I've heard every manner of thing. Oh, the internet's coming next week. Oh, they're going to shut down truther shows next week, and it never comes. I'm not saying there isn't something to that, and I'm not saying they aren't on a full frontal attack. The biggest problem is that they've got people like myself and others who are out there interested in the truth, who are not buying into either Obama or Trump or any left or right political. Those are the most dangerous people. When you have people who are seeing the truth for what it is and not allowing themselves to be drugged back into these left or right paradigms, that is the biggest threat. And those are the people they're going to be coming after. So as far as what I see coming down the pike, here's what I see. There's going to be more obfuscation of truth, because now they've set up a thing where if you do come out with any kind of truth, well, they can just say, oh, well, that's probably just George Soros left-wing lies. So they throw the baby out with the bathwater. See, this is not going to fly forever, because people have already started to figure out that both sides, left or right, doesn't matter who it is, they're all lying and they're all gaining us for their own ends. Once a mass majority of more people figure that out, it's going to start to be a problem for them. My problem with this now is that you're starting to see all of this stuff where they are making moves towards setting us into positions to where, people don't have the ability to stay neutral on this stuff. They want to marginalize everybody to a side and get everybody worked up into such a froth and a frenzy that people are thinking with their emotional minds instead of their rational minds. And when you're thinking strictly on your emotional mind and not your rational mind, you're going to make bad decisions. And this is what they're banking on, Richie. They want to goad people out there who are against this stuff into retaliating and into acting out in violent conflict and armed conflict, so that basically we do the job for them. They want to kill. They want to kill us all, but they don't want to pull the trigger themselves. They want us to initiate it so they can come in and smash us all. And that's the big thing I think people need to be aware of.
Well, that's the funny thing too, because I'm not just going to sit here and hate on Alex Jones, but he's a perfect example of this, because how many times has he said, "That's it, the globalists are coming to kill us. Pick up your arms, your Second Amendment, blah blah blah." The police, the military, for decades. I saw a rally in Boston the day before the Boston Marathon bombing occurred, where there was military from privates, PFCs up to generals, and they were protesting the fact that there was a new question that all new recruits were getting asked after they were already property of the government, after they were already GIs, saying, would you, if you had to, fire on American citizens? That entire rally had probably about 1,200 people there. It was right where the Boston Marathon would end. The day before the marathon, it never got 1 minute of playtime on the news. The next day, on Patriots Day, boom, Boston Marathon bombing happens. It's completely forgotten. The military, the police have all been purged of anybody that'll stand up to the commanding officer saying, we can't do this, it's unconstitutional, or America, or any of that stuff. They're dying for it. That's why they've been outfitted with flak jackets, machine guns as opposed to semi-automatics, and military-grade weaponry like tanks, MRAPs. They're dying for it. They want us to stand up. They can't believe how good of a job they've done dumbing everybody down, because nobody will stand up. They're wondering what it's going to take. But when it does come, or if it did come, or if somebody fell for it, they're ready, and they'll do it.
And you know what, Richie, what's interesting is this is not anything new. They've been trying to achieve this for over 20 years. One of the best examples, one of the oldest examples that I can think of of when they first really tried to do this was back during Y2K. And it's interesting because this does tie into the whole Alex Jones things you mentioned, because if you've ever heard the Alex Jones Y2K broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
The legendary where he was fear-mongering stuff, saying, Russian nuclear power plants are shutting down, and Austin's out of water, and the end of the world's coming, all this stuff. He was scared. That's what they were trying to do then. He was trying to get people up in arms to go against the government. And people can go and research something called Project Megiddo or Operation Megiddo, one or the other. But Project Megiddo, Operation Megiddo, was a pre-Y2K. It's all been declassified now, so you can go and actually pull up the declassified documents on this, on Project Megiddo. Project Megiddo was a pre-Y2K operation in which the government explicitly, in these documents, lays out the plan to round up and put in concentration camps American citizens who are Christian gun owners who believe in a New World Order conspiracy and Illuminati that is going to take over the world and take over, do away with guns and round people up. Essentially, it talked about how they would convince people that this was going to happen at Y2K, and when people got up in arms to do it, that would give them the excuse to go and round these people up and get their agenda achieved. So it's clear that when you listen to his Y2K broadcast and then you read the Project Megiddo, Operation Megiddo documents, it's clear that what's going on is again, what you just said. They're trying to goad people into doing this, and they're using it as it's part of the mind war stuff. This that goes back to the 𝗦𝗵𝗿𝗲 stuff that I talk about in Spellcasters Volume 1, 2, which of course is where the term InfoWar that Jones took InfoWars actually came from. It came from the mind war documentation where they talk about how we can get the people to believe that there's an outside threat, big banks, New World Order. There's an outside threat, globalists that are coming to kill them. And that the only way that we can defeat this is if Americans band together and unite, and that they would convince Americans that there was this outside threat and that they were banding to fight it. But really what they were doing was pushing their agenda and making their agenda be able to happen more easily than it would have any other way. So this is what this is a part of, man. People are being manipulated into believing that they're fighting a fight or fighting against an enemy, and really what they're being used as is a further pawn in the solidification of this grand master plan.
Unbelievable. Let me ask, I don't know if you can do a short breakdown, but to this day, the last time, this is like the third or fourth time. Last time I had you on, I had never actually heard of, I thought I was pretty well versed, CFR, Bilderberg, everybody knows those. When you pulled Council for National Policy out of the thin air, most people don't know what this is, and it's one of the most difficult organizations I've ever tried to look into, because this is their website right here, and apparently they're the ones that are at the very top of everything. Can you go into that just a little bit, just for the people that are just joining us right now?
Well, sure. And if people want to have more information on this, I've made 2 films on it. I made the first ever film on the Council for National Policy back in 2009 called The Secret Right. This is actually the 10th year. Again, this coincides with my 10-year anniversary, because when I started on air, I was just like you, Richie. When I started 10 years ago, man, I had been researching this stuff for about 15 years up to that point. And I thought I knew pretty much everything there was to know about it. Somebody suggested I do a radio show, and I thought, okay. I hadn't heard anybody talking about the stuff I knew about, but it became very apparent very quickly that I was onto some new information. The first week of shows I ever had, I interviewed former Canadian diplomat 𝗲𝗲 Scott, who's written many books on Iran-Contra, 9/11, etc. And we were talking about some of the standard conspiracy stuff on the show. We were talking about, the Council on Foreign Relations and the Trilateral Commission. And he interrupted me and said, well, what you really need to look into, those groups don't have as much power as they used to. He's like, what you really need to look into is this group called the Council for National Policy, the CNP. And, he said they were started in Dallas, which actually wasn't true, but a lot of their members were from here. But he just said they're more powerful, and a lot of people don't know about them, blah, blah, blah. People can listen to that interview. And on that weekend, I was the same way. I'd never heard of this group, and I was thinking, well, how come I've never heard of this group? And I start looking and researching into it. And again, back in those days, I was still a listener of Alex Jones and a follower of the mainstream truther community. I thought all was well and didn't think anything was wrong or nefarious at all. But as soon as I started researching this group, Richie, and started finding that it had members like, the people from the DuPont family and the Rothschilds, and then I started seeing people who were regular Alex Jones guests were past members. I started seeing people like the Paul Craig Roberts, who was a regular guest on our show, the father of Reaganomics. He was a member. I started seeing like Jack McLamb, Jerome Corsi. All of these regular Alex Jones guests were all members of this secretive group that meets 3 times a year. They're more secretive and more powerful than the Bilderberg group, according to 𝗲𝗲 Scott. And the reason is they meet 3 times a year in total secrecy. They rarely make their membership lists available to the public, so nobody really knows what goes on, where they meet, or what they talk about. But what I've uncovered through my research and what people can see in my films, The Secret Right, Volume 1 and 2, and in The Spellcasters, is that this is a CIA-controlled group where all of the different factions and elements of the right wing, you have all these different right-wing groups, but they all meet under one umbrella and one agenda to discuss how they are going to go about the plan. But there are compartmentalized people. There are people in it that don't know what goes on with the upper echelons, just like any group. But one of the people that I first started noticing that was in it was somebody who was in one of Alex Jones's films. The guy he was actually the former president, Dr. 𝗏𝗂𝗱. Alex Jones has Dr. 𝗏𝗂𝗱 in his film Endgame. Dr. 𝗏𝗂𝗱 was the former president of the Council for National Policy, and he was not nice to me when I went up and politely asked him about the group. He told me to F off. But Jerome Corsi was very nice about it. He openly admitted, oh, yeah, I'm a member. Yeah, this, that, and the other. But when you start looking at these guys, these were the guys who were behind Iran-Contra. You had Oliver North was a member of the group. It's just unbelievable. Dr. Edward Teller, the father of the hydrogen bomb, this guy was on the CMP Board of Governors. This is one of the main groups. And what I uncovered, Richie, just to put it in a nutshell very quickly for you, is that the key of uncovering that group, the CMP, is what proves that left, right, it doesn't matter. All these groups are controlled by the same people, because the CMP and the CFR, the Council for National Policy, the CMP, was supposed to be what they called the right-wing answer to the CFR. But when you trace back their funding all goes back to Fabian socialists out of Europe. They trace right back to the Milner's Roundtable groups, back to the London School of Economics. All of these groups trace all the way back and trace their lineage back to these same English groups that go back to the big banksters. So left, right, it doesn't matter. These guys are all in the same bed together. But the Council for National Policy thing was what allowed me. And I tell you what, we had a lot of people, when I first started uncovering this, we had a firebomb phone call in on the Alex Jones show, and he got so flustered. I've got this recording somewhere. Some of it is in The Secret Right, Volume 2. But he got so flustered because people were calling in endlessly, one on top of the other, asking him about the Council for National Policy. And he got real scared. A lot of people get scared when you bring it up and talk about it. I confronted Paul Craig Roberts about it on a radio show once, and he got really upset and nervous, changed his story about 3 times. First said he was a member, then said he'd never heard of the group. Then he said he was. Then he said he wasn't a member, and then he later came back after I hung up. He comes back with a guest 30 minutes later and says, well, okay, I was a member, but it was just a support group for Reagan, and I was only in it in the 80s. And the host said, well, sir, we have you on a membership list here from 1996 and 1997. You were a member well after that. And he just got really, really scared. And I didn't understand that for the longest time. And it wasn't until I discovered that you have people like Bob Barr from the NRA, who's a member of the Council for National Policy, former CIA, and he's former CIA as well. It wasn't until I started discovering all of these connections back to the CIA and understanding that, wait a second, this is a CIA-controlled front group that is setting policy and sending it out to their operatives like Phyllis Schlafly, who passed away last year, Alex Jones, Jerome Corsi, all these people. And through the Council for National Policy, they are basically enabling these people to operate under the guise of the CIA without directly being connected to it. This is what I also show now with the Spellcasters, with the CIA, the connections to Scientology and the Truth Movement through that, because it's the same exact setup. You've got these same individuals that are connected to these offshoot Scientology groups like the CCHR, the Citizens Committee on Human Rights, which has Ron Paul, Alex Jones, Jerome Corsi, all these people members to it. Then you find out who started the CCHR. It's an Eastern European Jewish man who was really good friends with Ron Paul. He's a Scientologist. I mean, all of this stuff is there in spades. But again, when you've never been exposed to it, and when no one is literally, I'm on the cusp of information here. I'm not tooting my own horn, and this is not about ego. Literally, there is information in these films, the Spellcasters 1 and 1.5, which is out now, and Volume 2, which is going to be coming out in a couple of months. There is literally information in here which I can go and look on the internet and find that nobody else has put out there. It's literally stuff that is cutting edge, that is there because people have been trying to suppress this information. We have pulled back a layer here that they have kept the lid on for quite some time, and it's blown me away that I've even discovered this stuff, because a lot of this stuff has happened by accident. But when you're searching for the truth, it finds you. You don't have to find the truth. When you're on the true path and you are truly righteous in your search for the truth, it finds you, and you don't have to find it. And I'm really grateful to you, Richie, for having me on and giving me an opportunity to put this stuff out there to an audience that doesn't listen to me. And so, because, you know, it's very difficult and you don't get a lot of support from people out there when you're doing the kind of work that I'm doing. So I just wanted to say thank you, my friend.
No, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Now, everybody in the chat, pretty much, they all know how I am. I'm not some dude with mad computer skills. I don't do all this special editing. I just say it like it is, and that's that. And like what you just wrapped it up in a nutshell perfectly. The truth, as you see it, comes to you when you're really looking for the right stuff. And a lot of times that hurts a lot of people's feelings. We're not going after anybody to be vindictive. We're going after them because it's part of the truth. And I'll tell you one thing. $10 for spellcasters was the best money I ever spent, because it's information you can't find on the internet. That's a fact, man. I don't know how you do it, but I can understand it, because it's not friendly to most of the big YouTube personalities. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I gained my following off. Yeah, I gained my following off YouTube. That's been the biggest thing. And I don't have sponsors. I don't have advertisers. I don't try to sell people stuff on my show. I don't sell products. I'm only here, and have only been here. This is important to state. I've only been able to do this for the past 10 years the way I have, because of other individuals out there like you, Richie, and others, just regular, normal people who want the truth, who want it in our time, and who believe in what I'm doing. And those people have kept me going this long by donating and buying my films and all this stuff. Those are the people that keep me going. We're not funded by, the sales of magical creams and pills and all this stuff or anything like that. I mean, this is strictly done by the people. And it's so difficult to find anything anymore, Richie, that's done by the people, because everything else has been co-opted. It's
exactly. It's beyond belief how everything has been co-opted. We should all get together. Not happening. It's not happening, because if 10 people get together these days, 6 of them are working for the government, because the government has got so incredibly big and out of hand. What are they, the second biggest employer in the country? Or the first? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely astounding, because people were lulled into a false sense of security. Everybody wanted their flat screen. Everybody wants the newest cell phone. Everybody's watching a reality show about other people doing stuff while no one's doing anything anymore. It's absolutely unbelievable how fast this is all occurring. And the name Spellcasters is phenomenal, because that's what we have to do. There's a spell on the entire country, and it's actually starting to make its way around the world. But America, in my opinion, just my opinion, America is under a very, very heavy spell, in my opinion.
Well, that's a big thing. I mean, and again, that's what I show especially in Volume 1 of the Spellcasters. We have 𝗲𝗲𝗱's own son, the guy that was the heir to the throne, that woke up and figured out he was involved in the deepest stuff. And he said beyond any shadow of a doubt that it's not kind of black magic, that it is black magic. In his own words, he said, he says that when you do a spell or something like that, it's something that happens instantaneously, whereas Scientology is a magic ritual that's spread out slowly over time, so that the person who is being victimized by this doesn't even know that they're even being affected by it, because it happens over such a long period of time. And I think you nailed it on the head, Richie. That's exactly what's being put on not just followers of Scientology, but they want to do it on everybody, and are doing it on everybody in the world and in the United States. It's a massive black magic ritual and spell that's being put over everybody, and you don't really notice it because it happens slowly over a period of time. And again, that's what we're trying to break people from here, is break people free from that spell. And it is like that. Once you awaken to it and you see that it's there, and I can't tell you, since I released Spellcasters 1, so many people have watched that movie and sent me messages, and they say exactly that. It's like, when they don't say that anything in it really surprised them, but it's all new information to them, because they've just never had it put to them before. And that's when I realized, wait a second, that's the bigger problem here. It's not just the fact that this information is being suppressed. It's that the ways for people to even find this information, even once it's out there, is very small and very limited. And that's really what we're up against.
Indeed. Listen, I know you did I know you did a series on this, but real quick, you don't have to, you can go as long or as short as you want. What are your thoughts on Chris Cornell?
Well, that's a great question. It's funny because I got to tell you, Rich, when I first got the news, I was blown away because with the Spellcasters Volume 2, like I said, it's going to really focus a lot more in on the music side, suspicious deaths, and I'd already been honed in. One of the big things that I'm going to be talking about in this film is the death of Kurt Cobain. We're going to be naming a main suspect that's never been named before in his murder in this, and I'll be, of course, connecting it all to CIA and Scientology and the rest of it. But a few months ago, I just started to notice that it seemed to me like there was definitely some kind of conspiracy against the people of that era, of the 90s era. That's my era. That's the era I grew up going to concerts in and stuff, and had a band. So a few months ago, I had pulled two screenshots off of Chris Cornell's Twitter page. And these posts were made a while ago, but I saved these. I don't know. I just kind of had a feeling they were going to go after Chris Cornell. And I found these two tweets that he made. I found these a few months ago, way prior to his death, and I saved them. And I've got them right up here in front of him. And one is from March 24th, 2009. And this is from Chris Cornell. It says, "Can you believe it? That's how Scientology started. I just need some horseshit self-help angle attached to a sci-fi theology." And then the second tweet from Chris Cornell from March 27, 2009 is, "Scientology was a tax shelter for 𝗲𝗲𝗱." Now, I found these two tweets months and months ago, and I had planned on mentioning them, putting them in Spellcasters too. When I heard Chris Cornell died, and I saw that, oh my God, he had been referencing, calling Scientology a tax shelter, saying it was, self-help, horseshit, sci-fi theology. I went, oh man. And then I got a story from a listener who told me a story about how the Soundgarden guys were at the funeral for Bill Cooper when Bill Cooper died, and that there was a skirmish with Anthony J. Hilder, who had set up cameras to film it. And then, of course, one of Chris Cornell's solo albums, I think the not the most recent, the one he did a few years ago, has a rocket ship and a volcano and kind of a very Scientology themed thing. I think he was definitely onto it. A lot of people are starting to figure that out. He was definitely onto something. And I think that when you look at what I've already compiled for the film, The Spellcasters Volume 2, in terms of showing how I can basically tie suspicious murders and deaths of famous musicians, Richie, going all the way back to the 1950s, going all the way back to the days of Buddy Holly, and all musicians all in between. I can tie suspicious death conspiracies to almost every famous musician that has ever died in a way that's unexplained. And that's what we're going to be doing a lot in Volume 2. So, yeah, I've seen some of the stuff you've done on Cornell. You're absolutely right. There's something there, and there's something going on. And it is a big, big element of what we've already established within the Spellcasters 1 and 1.5, because if you notice, there's been so many famous musicians that Alex Jones has brought on through the years as guests too. So I'm going to be tying that all in and really showing the black magic angle to not just Hollywood, as I've done in Volume 1, but to the music industry and to the whole grand scope thing of this veil that we've been talking about, that they've been pulling over our eyes for many, many years.
Unreal. That's great. I mean, it's not great, but I was completely unaware of the Scientology tie, because tweeting something like that in this day and age, that's a bold statement, man. And Scientology doesn't mess around. I mean, they've taken down some seriously famous people. It's no joke whatsoever. So I'm interested to see what you come up with on that.
Yeah, man.
All right, I got one more for you.
Okay.
Since the last time we spoke, Harvard University has blatantly come straight out. David Keith has come out and said, we weren't spraying the sky for the last 10 years, but in spring of 2017, which is now, we're going to start spraying the atmosphere so we can reflect the sun's rays back up into outer space. And nobody cares.
You know, they did the same thing when Obama came in 2008. They did the same exact thing. I covered stories on my show back then. They said they did the same thing. They said, no, we haven't been spraying anything, but we're going to start geoengineering the planet, and we're going to start spraying stuff around the sun to mitigate global warming. Yeah, they did this. They did that when Obama got in office. You're right. I saw them do it again now that Trump's been in office. How often are they going to do this? Are they going to sit here and just lie to us, bold face? Are they going to ignore the almost over a decade? I started monitoring chemtrails back in 2004, and I started making a little notebook and detailing what times of year, because I started noticing that certain times of year, specifically around holidays. I don't know what it is, but watch this next year, Richie. I want you to remember this. Watch chemtrail activity around Easter, and specifically on Easter weekend and Easter Sunday. I don't know why, but ever since 2004, there has been some sort of weird chemtrail thing that happens around the Easter holidays. Now, again, this is all part of people them wanting to believe and say and not admit that all of us that have been monitoring these chemtrails and talking about this for many years, they do not ever want to admit that we've been right. All they want to do is find a new way to be able to continue doing it and finding new ways of getting the public to pay for it. That's the whole thing that's what this is all about.
I could not believe that Harvard University, right across the Boston Harbor from me right now, David Keith popped his head up again. We've been talking about him for a decade. And it's like, oh, we couldn't do things like that's no, that's no good. We could, free riding on our grandchildren, so forth and so on, irresponsible, untested, no one knows, hard to tell. 7.5 minute video they put out. And then after the backlash, this was the article that they put out saying chemtrail conspiracy theories. We've received many emails and letters asking about chemtrails. Many express deep concern. Some are abusive and threatening. And he just keeps going on and on and on. But for the first time, we actually have them saying that we are starting to spray because global warming is just out of hand, and humans breathing and cows farting has ruined everything. The government blowing things up in the atmosphere, all these never-ending corporations dumping everything, every nuclear power plant leaking into the water. That's got nothing to do with it. It's you and your kids breathing, and we need to stop it as soon as possible. And still, people aren't even raising an eyebrow. It's phenomenal to me, to the point where I actually did make a shirt with "Look Up," which is a double entendre. I thought you would appreciate that. Solar Shield 2017. I couldn't put Harvard's website on my shirt because I'm sure they would come after me.
Oh yeah,
in full force. You know what I mean? But
oh, absolutely.
It's been a long time. They finally came out. So, Josh, I watched 1.5 today. It did not disappoint. It was not recuts of what Spellcasters was whatsoever. I can guarantee people that. It was the best $10 I've spent all week. So I really appreciate it. I am going to shut this down very soon. I'm sorry it took so long to get you on. But again, I have to use I use Firefox. I always have. I had to use Internet Explorer just to open my live stream, and YouTube took it away from me for 5 months, even though I didn't have any copyright strikes. So I'm
ridiculous.
back.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's I'm glad you're back, man, because as we've talked about, it's just getting harder and harder to find any sort of outlets that are giving people stuff, undiluted. So again, man, I appreciate all your work and appreciate you having me on, man. And I look forward to coming back and talking to you again once Volume 2's out.
I'll hit you up in a couple of weeks, see if you can make time, brother.
All right, man. You have a good one.
All right, Josh. Have a good night, brother. Anything? I mean, the links are in the description. Anything else?
Yeah, people can just go to my website, 𝗲globalreality.com, if they want to get copies of the film and the downloads.
I highly recommend it. It was an easy watch too. It wasn't like something you had to keep stopping. I started it, watched it all the way through, and then I watched it again this morning. So
I just want to be clear because some people have issues finding the download shop sometime. If you go right to my website, 𝗲globalreality.com, right in the middle of the page, it says the Global Reality Shop. And it says purchase all of Josh Reed's available documentaries there. You just click that one click, and that takes you to the download shop, and all of my films and audiobooks, tons of stuff is in there where people can find that. And again, just appreciate you so much, Richie. Thanks again.
No problem, brother. Anytime. All right. I am going to jump back into the chat. Take it easy. Don't kill me. I will. H8 said, can you give away one of those t-shirts? Of course I will. And I'm also going to be printing up PDFs that go to everybody that gets a shirt, so that when somebody does ask them what that means, they can answer them in the most concise and easiest way to understand. They are indeed spraying us. This is one conspiracy. We actually have proof. Again, over 500 subscribers for months. You guys know that they were in the comments. All you got to make one. Well, I wasn't going to make one just to like, hey, look at me. I have a microphone. It's not that, but this will work. So it's only for a week. Get one if you want one. If you don't, whatever. At any rate, let me check out this chat real quick. John Leo, Johnny Cypher, Mr. Candy, Christian Sorgi, Lester Knuppel, Susan Panzarella. Panzarella, that sounds Irish. Yobi Darnell. Yeah, well, listen. He said, my own family thinks I'm crazy because I know the truth. Well, listen, imagine being Richie from Boston. My family doesn't, I mean, I don't know if they do or they don't, but I stopped. I'd rather have no static in my family. I tried to tell them. They talked down. They've all got degrees and masters and blah, blah, blah. I just don't tell them anymore. It's not worth it. I'm going to, because of the truth, it is what it is. If they think something's black and I know it's white and I can prove it and they're not going to see it, whatever. I'm not going to I'm never talking to you again, because that's what's going to come of it. It's going to divide your family up. It is what it is. Hopefully at the very last minute, they'll catch it and they'll flip it. But I've already done my thing. And if they want, they can always find it, man. AJ's job is to make us look crazy, Jesse James. That's why he went on that show and did that. Made himself click. 1776 is going to come again, the globalist. He didn't sell out. His job from the very beginning was to take over, because you can't get to 1 million subscribers unless you're PewDiePie and you're talking about video games. It doesn't work like that. 5 months, my live stream ability was taken away for no particular reason. That's how they shut you up, man. Boston. Hey, what's up? I'm Richie from Boston. I got to go park my car, my Toyota. If I digress right now, how's that? If people are receptive, you'll know it. You can't force it down their throat. I say this all the time. There's a wide path for a reason. The narrow path is the one that we're on. I'm hoping you guys are all on it too. A lot of people stick with the truth community because they like the drama. You know what I'm saying? The world's going to end and this is going to happen and World War III. We're just repeating what the news is saying and trying to make sense of it. That's it. But too many people, they think they're awake, but they're going from my channel to Alex Jones or to other ones that are sitting there reason, the 𝗏𝗏𝗃 today, the sun kicked out a bit. But stuff's not even real, man. NASA's instrumentation is bullshit. None of that stuff is even real whatsoever. And way too many people, now listen to me, way too many people get caught up with, wow, this guy makes complete sense, except he doesn't believe in the exact shape of the earth that I do, so I'm not listening anymore. You can't do that, because then you're never going to wake up. They've set it up. They've set up this entire system so that there will be 1 million reasons for us to fight with each other. If someone doesn't think the earth is flat, if someone thinks the earth is round, it's not the most important thing. Seriously, the most important thing is that they're spraying the atmosphere. They're and even worse. You know what I mean? The worst thing is that they've got us to go to war with other people that we've never met in our entire lives. Imagine sitting at your house right now and all of a sudden, boom, a bomb comes through your neighborhood and blows up your next door neighbors. That's what we're doing in other countries right now. And I'm a veteran. And my father's a veteran. My grandfathers were veterans and veterans. It's what we do. We fight. We're war, We've been so wrong. We cheer for war like it's a sport. They got us. They got us good. It's time to wake up. I'm not the nicest guy you ever met, but I don't want to see anybody go to a place. Maybe it's not a pit of hell. I think it could be. It's hard to tell. The complete, total absence of God. There's no chance of forgiveness ever after you're already there. I ain't doing that. I was married before. I've had habits before. I don't want to see what hell's like. I just don't. And I don't want to see it happen to you guys either. At any rate. Yeah, at any rate. All right, guys. Richie from Boston. Yeah, well, someone keeps asking me to have a certain person back on. Well, everything I just said, that certain person uses all that stuff. Do you see what I mean? It's not really my cup of tea. My bag of rocks. Order through chaos. Indeed. Indeed. All right, guys. Scott Birch, Kingdom of Hope, Swordfish 196, Figure It Out Together. John Gardner, Anthony Sarvalis, Anti-NWO Canada, NM, Ms. D, Autumn Kite, Journey's Nani. She's always here. Actually, where did she go? Journey's Nani, you have a wrench if you get time. I'm not the man, but I know who the man is. I'm just an asshole with a laptop. I don't know what that means, Eddie Bravo. Yeah, I try. I'm exactly what you see, or exactly what you think I am. I mean, you're in my house, for Christ's sakes. You know what I'm saying? At any rate. All right, guys. I got a really good video. Remember the video I put up? I was telling you this before Josh came on. Remember that video I put up like last month? And I was talking about televisions and sigils and stuff like that, and electrical relays and all this stuff and all the patents that they got and everything. Well, I got a monster video, and you're going to freak out, because not only do I have a theory, I have absolute proof. I have better than patents. How's that? It's crazy. We're in big trouble. You really, 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 really need to get the full armor of God, because it's ugly. It's ugly. At any rate, Richie from Boston, like, share, subscribe, or don't. I'm out.